To one and all, I am Ganinath Sonone. On behalf of Department of Mathematics, HRDC Center, SPPU, I welcome you all here. It is my pleasure to introduce the resource person for this session, Professor T. Asir, Head of the Department of Mathematics, Madurai Kamaraj University, Tamil Nadu. He is PhD student of Professor Tamish Selvam, who is well-known figure in algebraic graph theory. Professor T. Asir served many administrative responsibilities at university level and working as a director of MKU Evening College, Dindigul. Also, he is working as a BOS member of many institutions. He has published more than 21 research articles, authored more than 3 books. He is on the editorial board of journal, ASEAN Journal of Algebra. Also, guest editor for special issues in AKCE Journal of Graphs and Combinatorics and Palestinian Journal of Mathematics. He guided to more than 20 research students, and now 3 research students are pursuing their PhD under his guidance. His area of research is algebraic graph theory and commutative algebra. Now I welcome Professor T. Asir. Sir, I request you to start the session.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, Dr. Sonawani, for your nice introduction. And also, I thank the organizer, especially Professor Vinayak Joshi, for his kind invitation to interact with you on this represent course. Also, I just remember my days on the department. Maybe probably 3 years back, I was there in Pune University for 3-4 days of a series of lecture, and really I enjoy the campus as well as the department. So I just thank everyone in the Department of Mathematics. It is actually a center of advanced studies. So thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for everyone who is involved in this refresher course. Okay. Hope you are all having the first day of the workshop, or maybe a refresher, that too in the afternoon, first session of this afternoon. It may be a little difficult, right? So I just begin with very basic things. Especially last session, at the end of the time, I just hear about that some of them are not much familiar with graph theory. I also hope that maybe some of them are not much familiar with the algebraic background. So maybe they may forget the basic concepts and other things. So keeping all those things in the mind and then change my slides a little bit, I would like to start from the beginning. I will share my screen. Yes, my screen is visible.
Very much,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Okay, so today I would like to concentrate about the 2 graphs that graphs are constructed from the algebraic structure. One is zero divisor graph, another one is total graph. These 2 are graphs constructed out of some algebraic structure, especially the ring theory. So I may have 2 lectures today and day after tomorrow. These 2 lectures I am mostly concentrated about these 2 graphs. Okay, so if you have something about algebraic graph theory, there are 2 sides. I think that the first side is from graphs from algebraic structure. For example, in the last talk, you maybe hear about automalism groups, right? So automalism groups mean if you have some graph, then you are going to construct a group, which is used to call it as automalism group. So we have a algebraic structure from graph. For example, very simple example, I used to say that adjacency matrix. Adjacency matrix is, so we have a matrix structure from graph. Therefore, always we have some algebraic structure from graph side. This is one side of this algebraic graph theory. The other side of the algebraic graph theory is what I am from ring structure or from a algebraic structure to graph. For example, we have some very well objects in algebra like groups and rings, etc., etc. We would like to construct some graph from this structure, and we would like to know about the interplay between these 2. So I hope most of the talks about this refresher is on the second part. That is, we are going to construct a graph from an algebraic structure, and we would like to see the interplay between them. Okay. So maybe some of them are very much new to this algebraic graph theory. That's why I just begin with very basic things. Usually we used to call it as the algebraic graph theory is organized originally is introduced by Cayley in the year of 1878. This graph is used to call it as a Cayley graph nowadays. So you may have some lectures on Cayley graph as well. So Cayley graph of a group. You may be well known about Cayley, right? So Cayley is a group theorist. He wants to represent his groups in a structural way. For that, he have introduced some graphs on out of that. Later, that graph is used to call it as Cayley graph. Okay, so this subject is maybe introduced in the year 1878. You may taking in this way. Okay, so I just need some of the notation. Let us begin with the commutative ring. We used to denote R as a commutative ring. For this lecture, I just concentrate only on commutative ring. Okay, so you please don't worry about the other topic. As well as I would like to tell you one thing, that if you have any questions or queries, and if you wanted to ask any further clarification, you can stop at any time. Okay, so it's not necessary you should wanted to wait at the till the end. So please stop me at any point of time. So R is my commutative ring. I needed two operation. I used to denote this two operation as plus and dot. And the additive identity, I usually denote it as 0, and the multiplicative identity is 1. And I used to denote this notation, the ideal generated by X, as this notation. I frequently use this notation. So these are the notations I just want to have for this two talks. And maybe for my talk, I need for very basic concepts from algebra. I would like to introduce it again one more time, the ideal. I hope everyone remember this concept anyhow for the sake of completeness, and let not be a commutative ring. I'm going to consider a subset out of this commutative ring. We used to call it as an ideal if it satisfies two conditions. One is with respect to the first operation, it should satisfy the subgroup condition, which is nothing but closure and what you call the two thing inverse. Okay, so what I need is whenever AB is an element of R, or the subset I, A minus B belongs to I. This is what the first condition. And the second condition, I have to take a two element, one element from the subset and another one element from anywhere from the ring. And if I am playing the second product, the resulting element should be the subset of I. So if my subset satisfies these two conditions, then I used to call it this as ideal. And unit, it is simple. Unit is nothing but those elements which have the multiplicative inverse. Please note that in terms of ring, you don't need to have an inverse always, multiplicative inverse. So those elements for which the multiplicative inverse is X is, we used to call it as unit. The collection of all such unit element is used to denote it as U of R. The another one is zero divisor. Okay, so what do you mean by zero divisor? I have taken an X in R such a way that there is another one element Y in R, which must be non-zero, such that X dot Y equal to 0. Okay, so I used to take this set of all zero divisors in R as Z of R. Okay, since this after the lunchtime, I would like to give you one or two exercises. Can anyone say about what's the relation between these two elements? Can anyone please? What I mean is, if I have an element like unit element, then it should be a zero divisor, or if I have a zero divisor element and then it is unit.
Unit cannot be a zero divisor.
Exactly, sir. Unit should not be a zero divisor. Can anyone, any other, can give the proof of this?
It is either unit or zero divisor.
Zero divisor.
Exactly. Why? Because of, if I suppose anyone knows the proof of this, a simple proof, yeah, 1 or 2 line proof.
See, if X is a unit, you multiply by its inverse, you will get 1. So if there is another element, then that Y will become 0.
Yeah. For example, if I am having X as a zero divisor, then there is another Y, X dot Y is 0, right? So what I need to prove this zero divisor should not be a unit element. I am assuming in a quantitative way that suppose this element is unit, then what happens? Suppose this X is unit, then I always have X inverse. So I just pre-multiply X inverse XY equal to 0. What do you get? Y equal to 0. Okay, so this is for the contradiction. Therefore, if I have a ring with me, then I have a partition that one side is zero divisor. The unit element is not part of this zero divisor, right? So for this concept, I recover one more concept, like a regular element. A non-zero element X in R is said to be regular if X is not a zero divisor. Okay. So for me, what is regular element? Those elements which are not zero divisor. That's it. Okay. We used to call it REG of R, which is R minus Z of R. You please don't confuse this with von Neumann regular. Von Neumann regular is something different. So this regular is element which are not zero divisor. Okay. So what happened to my ring? Suppose if I am having a ring R, then I have one side zero divisor. The rest of the side is regular of R, right? My unit is where my unit is always belonging to the regular of R, right? My unit is always a subset of regular of R. Okay. Shall I move on? Yeah. Any question?
Is there any relation between this regular element and the like construction of the quotient space, like the regularization kind of thing? So, or is it just the usual definition like R minus zero divisors?
Yeah, this is actually a usual definition. We used to call it as the element which are not zero divisor as a regular, but it doesn't have much meaning about your quotient ring and other things, right?
Okay.
Maybe I don't know whether this has also the meaning. Okay, so now you can visualize the rings, right? So ring means I can divide the ring into 3 parts, especially 2 parts. One is zero divisor, another one is regular. My unit is actually a part of regular. This is what I want. Anything else? Okay, so shall I move on to the next slide? Okay, I already told you that I would like to introduce you 2 graphs. One is zero divisor graph, another one is total graph. I first begin with the zero divisor graph. What is zero divisor graph of a commutative ring? Let us consider a ring structure. I used to take it as a commutative ring. What I am doing is, you please note that whenever I need to construct a graph, I need 2 sets, right? One is vertex set, another one is edge set. What I'm doing for the vertex set, I'm going to consider all the elements of the ring as the vertices. So for my vertex set is nothing but the elements of the ring. What happened to my edge set? I need to give some condition for the edges. What is my condition? The zero divisor condition. Whenever I am just going to take it 2 distinct vertices, which means we are avoiding the loops. I'm considering 2 distinct elements x and y such that x dot y equal to 0, then I am going to give an edge between them. If xi is not 0, then there is no edge between them. This is what the condition. So this graph is introduced by Ivan Beck in the year 1988. Shall we do some exercise like, can anyone draw the graph for V6? If you have some note or pencil, something with you, can you please try the ring C6 and try to draw this graph? So the exercise is, I will give you the element C6. C6 means integer modulo 6, which means my elements of the ring is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are the 5 elements in the ring. Now I need to draw the graph such a way that the elements are nothing but, the vertices are nothing but the elements of the ring. So you please plot 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and try to draw the edges. Please try to draw the edges. So the vertices are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happened to my 0?
It will be isolated point.
It is not a isolated point, right? X dot y equal to 0, which means 0 dot 1 is 0, right? I cannot consider the same element. I have only considered the distinct element. So 0 dot 1 is 0. Therefore, 0 is adjacent to 1. Am I right?
0 is adjacent to every element.
Universal
Yes, exactly.
vertex.
Yes, exactly. So this is what the concept. 0 is adjacent to every element in the ring. So 0 is adjacent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happened to my 1?
1 is a unit, so it will not be adjacent to any other element than 0.
Yeah, except 0, right? 1 is already adjacent with 0. Therefore, except 0, 1 is not adjacent to anything else, right? So when you come to 2, 2 is already adjacent with 0. So you just leave it. 2 into 3 is again 0, right? In terms of C6, it is again 0. So therefore, given adjacency between 2 and 3. Similarly, 2 is not adjacent to 4 because it will give you 2. Therefore, 2 is not adjacent with 4. Am I right? So you please try to draw the entire graph of this kind. I hope everyone is completed, right? Okay, you please look at this graph, and can you have any observation about this graph? For example, some of you were very much know about the graph theory, or if you are well versed about the graph theory concept, what happened to the domination after? Okay, I don't know whether you know the concept of domination, so I just leave it. Can any other observation? As already one told that 0 is adjacent to the every vertex. So this is not only true for C6, right? This is true for every ring. Am I right? 0 dot any element of the ring will give you 0. Therefore, 0 is always adjacent to every other element in the ring. Okay, this is my first observation. Something like that. Do you have any other observation? By looking this diagram of C6, I come up with an observation that 0 is adjacent to the every element of the ring except 0. Similarly, can anyone come up with any other? Yeah.
Units are
Units
adjacent
have
to only 0.
Yeah, units are
Adjacent to only 0 element.
exactly. Units are adjacent to only 0, or otherwise in my language, regular elements are adjacent to only 0, right? Regular element is which is those elements which are not 0 divisor, which means whatever may be the A I am considering as a regular element, which multiply with any element will not give you 0, which means that regular element is adjacent to only 0, right? Anybody have any question about this? Hope you are all understand, right? 0 is adjacent to every element in the ring, and the element which are not 0 divisor is adjacent to only 0 in the 0 in the graph, right? So these two are the observations. You please note that this observation is give you a great flavor of this concept. What happened? This graph is introduced in the year 1988 by Ivan Beck. Ivan Beck is actually a commutative ring theorist. He also wanted to represent his ring as a graph. He don't wanted about the graph theory properties and other things. He just wanted to color the ring. Why he wanted to color the ring? He wanted to partiate the ring for some concepts he involved in ring theory. So for that reason only, he just introduced this concept, and then he left out this one. And there are one or two open questions or conjecture he proposed, and then this conjecture is actually proved by D.D. Anderson, not D.F. Anderson, another one person, D.D. Anderson, maybe settled this conjecture in a negative way. And then in the year 1991, after the 11 years, D.F. Anderson and C.S. Livingston modified this definition. They also come up with this observation: 0 is adjacent to all other elements, and the element which are not 0 divisor is only adjacent to 0. Therefore, what they did is they just modify the definition and give the name for that. The 0 divisor graph of R, the present definition of the 0 divisor graph of R is we usually denote it as gamma of R as a simple graph whose vertices are the elements of Z R star. This is the only difference. So what they did is they are just considering the element which are non-zero 0 divisor, and that again the edge set is same like previous one, such that two distinct vertices x and y are adjacent provided that x dot y equal to 0. So you please understand that they just consider the induced subgraph of Z of R, right? Z of R star. This means that non-zero 0 divisors of R. Okay. So now you please try to draw this graph. What happened to this graph for the same C6? For the same C6,
Sir, what is ZR star?
star means a non-zero 0 divisor. You just remove the 0. So please note that there are some books they used to denote the 0 divisors as take a non-zero element x. Okay, but that is not the case. 0 is always a trivial 0 divisor. So we are removing 0 from the set. Therefore, my Z star of R is non-zero 0 divisor. Can anyone say what are the 0 divisors are there in C6?
2, 3, 4.
2 and 3 and 3 and 4, they are adjacent with each other.
Yeah, 3 and 4. What about 2?
2 is adjacent with 3.
Yeah, 2 is also zero divisor, right? What are my zero divisors? 2, 3,
Yes.
and 4. So now my vertex set is, I just need to, I don't want to bother about 0. Therefore, 2, 3, 4, these are the 3 vertices. Again, the edges is 2 is adjacent to 3, 3 is adjacent to 4, 2 is not adjacent to 4, right? This is what
Yes.
the graph. Okay, so it is nothing but the induced subgraph of Z, the previous graph, right? The previous graph. What do you mean by induced subgraph? Induced subgraph means I have collected the subset. I need to consider all the edges between them. This is what we used to call it as an induced subgraph. Therefore, this is as nothing but the induced subgraph of the graph which is defined by Ivan Beck. Okay, this is very simple observation, is right? You just imagine that this simple observation actually lead to, now you can search in Google. You may find at least 300, 400 of papers in the leading journal dealing about only zero divisor graph. Actually, this is very, very small observation, right? And that has been done by D.F. Anderson and P.S. Livingston. This small observation actually leading to the greatest research in the field of zero divisor graph. Okay, so I just wanted to show the graph that you already discussed with, right? So these two are the difference between the Ivan Beck definition and the definition one given by D.F. Anderson. Okay. Anybody having any question at this moment? Yeah. Okay. So I will give you some exercises. You can try these graphs. I already give you the answer, right? But you just try. What are the ring structure and corresponding to the zero divisor graph? The answer is already shown, but you can try. So C4, what are the zero divisors? 0 and 2 are the zero divisors, right? Yeah, 0 I just need to eliminate. So 2 is the only zero divisor. So it is a singleton point. You know that 0, 4 is isomorphic to Z2 of X by ideal generated by X square. I hope you are all familiar with this ring, right?
Yes,
Does
sir.
anybody need explanation about this ring? For example, is it n of x by ideal generated by x square is nothing but a0 plus a1x plus a2x square up to an minus 1 xn minus 1 plus ideal generated by x square. These ai's are belongs to zn. Okay, so z2 of x by ideal generated by x square have exactly 4 elements. One is x square, 1 plus x square, and what happens to the remaining? X plus x square, right? 1 plus x plus x square. These are the 4 elements. Okay, so actually these two rings are isomorphic. Z4 is not isomorphic to Z2 of x by ideal generated by x square, but the corresponding zero divisor graphs are same. Okay, which means I have given two different non-isomorphic graphs for which I get the isomorphic zero divisor graph. What about the next one? Can anyone give explanation for Z9? Z9.
3
What are the
and
zero divisors? Yeah.
3 and 6.
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Okay. 3 into 6 will give you 0. Therefore, there is an adjacency, right? Okay. Similarly, for C6 and Z8, we just come across with C6. This is the graph, right? It is path on 3 vertices. So C8 also you can try. You will end up with the same graph. Okay. What about the fourth graph? Instead of Z2 of x comma y, it is maybe a difficult one. You can grow with the second ring. F4 of x by ideal generated by x square. It is nothing but a0 plus a1x plus ideal generated by x square, such that a0 and a1 belongs to f4. What are the zero divisors are there?
X, Y, X and Y.
What are the zero divisors? Can you please repeat it? I hope you are all familiar with this ring, right? Or shall I need to write these rings? These are some simple exercises we may come across in our undergraduation. So So I again repeat, F4 of x by ideal generated by x square means set of all a0 plus a1x plus ideal generated by x square such a way that a0 comma a1 belongs to F4. That's it. So actually, how many elements are there in the ring? 4 into 4, right? 16 elements are there in the ring. You try what are the zero divisors. Here the zero is nothing but ideal generated by x square is the zero. Okay. You just multiply two elements and those elements having x power n such that n greater than or equal to 2, you just put them into ideal generated by x square. That's it. Very simple product.
X is zero divisor.
Yeah. Yeah. X plus x square is one of the zero divisors because you can product same element x into x square, product with x into x square will give you just x square, right? Ideal generated by x square. Therefore, it is a zero divisor. Exactly. What are the other two elements? I already gave you the example.
Y plus y square, x plus y square.
No, why you need y here? Just I am considering f4 of x.
Okay, F4.
So multiples of x, constant multiples of x.
Yeah, constant multiple of x. Exactly. Which means x plus x square is 1.
2x,
And if
3x.
whatever the element you have taken as f4, we sometimes used to call it f4 as 0, 1, omega square. If you consider this way, then x plus x square is the first element, omega x plus x square is the second element, omega square x into x square is the third element. Exactly. So constant multiple of x plus x square. Therefore, these are the three zero divisor elements. You can product these three, you will get that the zero divisor graph is nothing but K3. Right? Okay, you please observe that how many connected graphs are there in single vertex? Only one. If I am considering a graph with only one vertex, that is nothing but the singleton point. Therefore, that is also already realized as the zero divisor graph. What happened to how many connected graphs are there with two vertices? Again, exactly one. That is nothing but K2. So K2 is already realized as the zero divisor graph of some ray. What happened to three vertices? How many connected graphs are there on three vertices? I just only consider the connected graph.
All
Please do. Yeah. How many connected graphs are there on three vertices?
Two graphs.
Yeah, these are the two graphs, right? Am I right? Non-isomorphic two graphs. These are the two graphs on three vertices. These are the two connected graphs on three vertices. That two are considered actually realized as a zero divisor graph. Okay. So now my question is, how many connected graphs are there on four vertices? How many non-isomorphic? Okay, you just leave the isomorphism graph. How many non-isomorphic connected graphs are there on four vertices? A simple calculation. I hope this is not make you too much of difficult. You just try, you can end up. You please plot four vertices. To draw only the non-isomorphic connected graph.
Graph is simple.
Yeah. Can you please repeat?
Simple connected graph.
Yeah, simple. Yeah, exactly.
Simple
I just need
connected
to add.
graph.
Yes, exactly. Dr. Balakumar is right. I just need to add one more word. It is simple because I need to avoid the loops.
I got 3.
You got 3. Okay. Actually, it is little more
I
than
got
that.
6.
4.
Yeah, someone said that it is.
I
6.
got 6.
Yeah. Can you show your that drawing figure in the video? We try to see. I don't know how can it is clear, but we try to see that.
Last.
Can you? One is K4, another one is P4, right? And another one is you have draw a box, and in between there is a edge, right? That is third one. What about the other 3?
Yeah, only
I can see just 3 one. Yeah.
At the bottom, I have drawn this.
Yes. So 3, I think you are right. So, but first 3 is very clear. What happened to the last 3? We just take it into right hand side. Something now. No, then which means left hand side. Yeah, this is what. Yes, I think you are right. These are the 6 graphs. 6. Actually, there are exactly 6 graphs are 6 connected, simple, non-isomorphic graphs are exist with 4 vertices. Okay. Okay. So next, I just going to realize what are the graphs may be realized as 0. Okay. Actually, these are the 3 graphs can be realized as the 0 divisor graph of some ring. For example, I have given first one is K1, 3, right? We used to denote this as a star graph K1, 3 that can be realized as the 0 divisor graph of C2 cross F4. Another one is C3 cross C3. The corresponding graph is C4. The last one is C25. The 0 divisor graph of C25 is nothing but K4. So which means there are other 3. What are them? Can anyone say? So I just, there is a edge between these two. You can just add an edge between these two. That is again a connected graph on 4 vertices that I cannot be realized as 0 divisor graph. Another one is P4. What about the last one? So sir, can you tell me what is the last one? Sir, you are already in unmute. So you can.
Path.
Yeah, path on 4, I already told you. Path on 4 vertex is one which is not realized as 0 divisor graph. Another one, C4, there is a diagonal between in the C4.
A triangle attached to the frontal vertex.
Exactly. A triangle attached with a frontal vertex. Okay. These are the 3 other graphs which are not realized as a 0 divisor graph. Okay. I would like to give the proof of this. What I need to do is I would like to give the proof of P4. What I need to do that, I need to say that P4, path on 4 vertex, cannot be realized as the 0 divisor graph of any commutative ring. This is what I need to prove. Okay. So what I need to prove. So I already explained you what is I just wanted to prove. But I am considering any other way. Suppose P4 may be considered as a 0 divisor graph of some ring. So P4, the vertices I just need to label as A, B, C, D. A is adjacent to B, B is adjacent to C, C is adjacent to D. So this is path on 4 vertex. There is no other adjacencies are there in my graph. So suppose I am taking this P4 is a 0 divisor graph of some ring, means exactly my sum ring should contain 5 elements as a 0 divisor element, right? What are those? 0, A, B, C, D, right? And what since A and B are adjacent, A, B, B, C, C, D should be 0. No other product should be 0, right? Which means AC is not 0, AD is not 0. This is what. Okay, so with this assumption, I would like to move on further. What happened to my A plus C? Yeah, I'm going to say that A plus C is always a 0 divisor element. How? I just post multiply A plus C with B. Again, AB, CB, both of them 0. AB and CB is 0. Please note that we are in the commutative ring, so you don't bother about AB or BA. Okay, so this will give you 0. Therefore, A plus C should be an element of the 0 divisor. Okay, what happened to my 0 divisor? There are 5 elements in my 0 divisor. So this A plus C should be one among them. Right? So what happened? Now I end up with A plus C should be B alone. Can anyone say the proof of this? Again, yeah, one line or one word proof. I already told that A plus C is an element of this 0 divisor. There are 5 elements in my 0 divisor. So A plus C should be one among these 5. But I am saying that A plus C should be B alone. Nothing else. Just a contradiction proof. First of all, clear that A plus C should not be A, right? Why? What happened? A plus C, suppose A plus C is A, then what happened? Since I am having a cancellation law is valid in terms of group. So in terms of my first operation, cancellation law is valid, right?
C is 0.
Yeah, C is 0. A, I just cancel A, C is 0, but C is not a 0 element, right? Therefore, that is a contradiction. Therefore, A plus C should not be A, as well as A plus C should not be C as well, right? So what happened to the other thing? Suppose a plus c is 0, what happened? What is c
It's-
then? C is
Is
minus a,
additive
right?
inverse of A.
Yeah, c is additive inverse of a, which means I used to denote it as c equal to minus a, right?
Minus.
So c is minus a. Then I have cd is 0, right? I have
Yes.
c into d is 0. Suppose I am applying here, what happened? Instead of c, I am applying minus a, which means a dot d is 0. Then there is a adjacency between a and d in my graph, right? AD is 0.
Yes.
Therefore, there must be adjacency between a and d, but it is not the case. That is the contradiction, right? So you understand now. So similarly, for what happened, a plus c equal to d, a plus c equal to d. Similarly, you can multiply with something. This is what I will give. What happened if a plus c equal to d? I just multiply with b. Then what happened? AB plus CB will give you DB. Both AB and CB is 0. Therefore, DB is 0, but D and B are not adjacent. Okay, so very simple proof. I just play with the elements and I end up that A plus C actually B. Similarly, I just try for B plus C. The same proof technique. Okay, so you just multiply B plus C with something, it will give you 0. Therefore, again B plus C an element of the 0 divisor, but the only possibility is B plus C is 0. Okay, so these are the two possibilities I am having. One is A plus C is B, another one is B plus D is C. So what happened to this? How I'm just moving from I am applying this two in one. One is B equal to A plus C. Instead of C, I am just applying B plus C. I am having cancellation law again, so I just cancel B. What happened? A plus D equal to 0. Therefore, nothing but D is minus of A. Therefore, since I am having BD, I just try what happened to my BD. If I am applying BD, it is nothing but B into minus A, yeah, 0. But it is not adjacent to my graph. Therefore, in all the way, I get the contradiction, right? So, I never have a 0 divisor graph of any commutative ring with the resulting 0 divisor graph is P4. Am I right? So very simple proof. I just wanted to know the proof flavor. Any questions? Even any basic questions if you have, you please, because it is a refresher course. Yeah.
Excuse me. So this path will be of length 3, right? Because you have 3 edges: A to B, B to C, and C to D.
Exactly.
So, but here you said it's a path of length 4. So I think.
No, path of path of length 3, path of 4 vertices. Yeah, it is a mistake in the typing mistake.
Yeah.
It is path on of length 3, or I have to write path of 4 vertices. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Thank you for pointing out my mistake. Any other comments or questions? So you please realize that P4 is not realized as 0 divisor graph. Similarly, there are many graphs cannot be realized as 0 divisor graph of any commutative ring. So suppose every graph can be realized as 0 divisor graph of some rings. In what happened? I never wanted to study graph theory, right? I just study 0 divisor graph itself because I am having ring structure with me. That ring structure really helps to understand the 0 graph structure better manner. So suppose every graph can be realized as 0 divisor graph of some ring means, then I'm entirely avoiding to study the graph theory. I just move on to 0 divisor graph. Why? Because of 0 divisor graph have a better structure from the algebraic point of view. Since I'm using with the element, right? I cannot do it in graph theory. This is what the main interplay comes here. I hope you understand what I mean, right? So suppose I am give you just P4, A, B, C, D. You don't know about anything property about A, B, C, D. But here, this A, B, C, D has some elements of the ring. Therefore, I can use the properties of the ring to conclude something with the graph theory. So this is one type of interplay. Okay. Since it is we are in the refresher courses on specific topic, I just like to give you very basic flavors about this concept. So you please stop me at any time if you have any queries or questions. So there are many other graphs can be realized as 0 divisor graph, like most of the star graphs can be realized as 0 divisor graph, like complete bipartite graph. And there are many other graphs also be realized as 0 divisor graph. Okay, so suppose I wanted to study some properties of these types of classes of graphs, then I just use my zero divisor concepts to answer some questions in the graph theory. So this is what the other thing. There are many rings and corresponding graphs are there. So zero divisor graphs on 7 vertices. These are the graphs, zero divisor graphs on 7 vertices. Okay, so I will end up with this for the first session. I just move on to another one important theorem. First of all, do you have any questions about this concept or any clarification? Up to this point. Okay, so let us move on to the next concept. Someone wondering why you need to consider the graph from ring structure and vice versa. So I always used to refer this theorem, one of the classical theorems, which is proved by Professor Ganeshan in the year maybe 1968 or 67 something, late 1960. Yeah, it may be 67 or 68. Can anyone say the algebraic version of this graph, this statement? I have given a statement in terms of zero divisor graph. Can anyone say the algebraic statement of this one? I just first read out. Let R be a commutative ring. Then my zero divisor graph is finite if and only if either R is finite or an integral domain. I hope everyone knows about integral domain. A ring which doesn't have any non-zero zero divisor. Okay, that is called integral domain. So you just take this first part. Can anyone say the equivalent statement in the ring state?
Yeah, so number of zero divisors is finite if and only if R is finite or an integral domain.
Exactly, Professor. So this is what the concept. So you understand, right? The ring is finite if and only if Z of R is finite. The one side is very trivial. R is a bigger structure. Z of R is a subset of that one. So whenever R is finite, Z of R is always obviously finite, right? The question is the reverse. What happened to the reverse part, which means Z of R is finite, whether the ring is finite or not. But maybe like a nonsense question. How you just considering a subset with a superstructure? Actually, this is actually true whenever Z of R is finite, except for the integral domain, which means if I have a non-trivial zero divisor, then if my subset is finite, the ring structure is also finite. This is actually an open problem for quite long time. This open problem is proved for commutative ring and non-commutative ring, both by Professor Ganeshan, maybe in 2 years difference. And then still this problem is open for the near rings and others. Okay, so this is what actually the theorem, which is already proved in 1968 by Professor Ganeshan, a paper in Math Annals. This paper runs over about 12 pages. The entire paper is just dealing with the proof of this theorem, or the single theorem proved in that paper. So you may just imagine it is a quite long paper. So I would like to give the proof of this, but actually it's not using the graph any graph theory at all, or not zero divisor graph specifically. But when D.F. Anderson start introducing zero divisor graph, he itself realized this proof, a simple proof of this. This realization comes only when he worked on zero divisor. Let us explain. Just 4 or 5 lines of proofs. So what I'm having is one side is obvious. Just so I am just considering my Z of R is finite indirectly, which means gamma of R is finite or non-empty. This is what my assumption. So what I need to prove, R is finite. This is what I need to prove. Okay, so since my Z of R is non-empty, I always have 2 elements, right? I need X and Y. So I just take that X and Y such that X dot Y equals 0. I'm just considering this annihilator of X. So annihilator of X element means nothing but those elements commute with X which give you 0. Okay, set of all A dot X such that set of all A such that A dot X equal to 0. This is what the annihilator. This annihilator will always form an ideal. Therefore, I take it as I. It is clear that annihilator of X is always subset of Z of R, right? Z of R means X, any X dot Y equal to 0. For annihilator of X, you can particularly fix some X and then you considering all the A. Okay, so therefore, I is always a subset of Z of R. Then I already told you that this is ideal. Then for what happens? R dot Y is I, right? For any R in R. Since ideal, the property of ideal second property, which guarantee you that R dot Y is always an element of I. Can anyone complete the proof now? just by assuming in a quantity where that R is infinite. I have given entire structure. I expect you to answer the rest. What happened? You just imagine that just applying y as a function. One side you have R. I am considering this R as infinite, right? So my domain is infinite. My codomain, I just applying y. The codomain is I, right? What happened to my I? My I is finite because z of R is finite. I is subset of that. Therefore, I is finite. Now, can anyone say the answer of this? Left hand side, you have the domain, which is infinite. Right hand side, you have a finite set. I'm just applying y.
So if domain is infinite, then for some R1y will be equal to R2y, and we get a contradiction.
Exactly. Yeah. So you already know the proof, or just you come up with the answer?
You just told to see domain and codomain, so one can see.
That's great, sir. Actually, this is what the answer. What happened? Suppose I am applying y, right? I will end up with some elements in the right hand side is finite. I'm just applying this element as I1, I2 up to ik. These are my elements in the right hand side. Suppose if I am considering first set, first subset in the domain such that I am applying y, then the resulting element is I1. Similarly, I2 for I3. I'm just considering this as the subset as A1, A2, A3. This is it. What happened? All my A's cannot be finite, right? Suppose all my A's are finite, I am having up to AK. Therefore, this domain should be finite. So this is not the way. Therefore, what it means that at least one of the A's should be infinite. I am considering two elements from that, then just writing it, and I will end up a contradiction. So it is clearly observed. Suppose R is infinite, then what happens to my I? There exists an I in I such a way that I'm just considering this R, okay? So collection of R in the domain such a way that R, Y equal to I. This set should be infinite. For at least one I, this should be infinite, right? It cannot be finite for every I because my domain is infinite. Therefore, at least for one I, this should be infinite. So here is the answer. So if I am considering two elements from here, again, R and S, R minus S into Y will give you 0. Therefore, what happens to this annihilator of Y? This annihilator of Y is infinite now, right? Every element in J, I always have, every two elements from J, I always have R minus S. Every R minus S are distinct. Therefore, this annihilator of Y is actually subset of Z of R, which is infinite. That is the contradiction. Okay. So, this annihilator of Y is infinite, but this whenever we talk about annihilator, which is always a subset of Z of R, therefore this is a contradiction, right? I hope you understand, right? The last point. Shall I need to explain it again, or will it do?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is what the flavor. This is one of the basic concepts in ring theory that is also already proved, maybe with 10 or so 12 pages of the proof, a huge proof involving ring theory and other things. But when we realize this thing as graph, then they come up with a better proof, that too a 4 to 5 lines of proof. So visualizing a ring or visualizing an algebraic structure is really helpful through using graph theory. This is what the concept. Okay, I will end up zero divisor here. This zero divisor actually extended to many other objects like non-commutative rings, near rings, semi-groups, modules, lattices, and posets. You may now find out more than 300, 400 articles in the leading journal about zero divisor graph. Actually, even this zero divisor graph actually extended to zero divisor, ideal based zero divisor graph, and many other concepts as well. Okay. Okay, let us move on to the next one. If you have any questions, please let me know. Up to zero divisor. Up to zero divisor, do you have any questions? If there is no question, shall we move on to the next concept, total graph? Okay. So total graph is again another graph structure constructed from ring. In the year 2008, the same person, D.S. Anderson, and one more person, Ayman Badawi, introduced this concept in the year 2008, a paper from in Journal of Algebra. Total graph of R denoted by T gamma of R is an undirected simple graph with all the elements of R as vertices. I am considering again all the elements of the ring as vertices, and two distinct vertices X and Y are adjacent, provided that X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor. Okay, so again they are dealing with the elements of the ring with the zero divisor, but the condition is different. In the zero divisor graph, X dot Y equal to 0. Here it is X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor. This is what the difference between the zero divisor graph and total graph. And there are some subgraph conditions are there that we are going to consider two subgraphs, maybe possibly induced subgraph. I already told you that ring can be parted into one in zero divisor and other in ring, a regular element. Therefore, what happened? I'm considering induced subgraph of Z of R as T Z gamma of R and the regular part as regular gamma of R. Okay, so we have a total graph with the two induced subgraphs. We are going to study all this together. Therefore, I need this notation alone. Okay, again, I will give you C6. Now you try to draw the graph of total graph of C6. You please try the total graph of C6.
Sir, can you show me definition again?
Okay, so nothing but the elements of the ring as the vertices, and edges is nothing but X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor. So if you are considering Z6, plot all the elements of Z6 as vertices like bed graph, and draw the adjacency such a way that X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor. Okay, X plus Y is not 0. X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor.
Zero divisor graph, we are omitting 0, no?
Yes, sir. I mean, can you please repeat?
But here consider Z of R 0, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
If 0 is here in this definition.
In every definition, 0 is there, but in terms of zero divisor graph,
We are using the notation gamma. If we define a gamma means the 0 is omitted in zero divisor elements.
yes, exactly. In terms of zero divisor graph, we are omitting 0 from the zero divisor and draw the graph. Here, the elements of the ring as vertices. Yeah.
Oh. Because
note
we are
that here the
using the
vertex,
notation gamma. Using the notation gamma means we are omitting the element 0.
Not only 0, regular elements also we are omitting because we are just considering set of non-zero zero divisor. Is a star of R. Okay.
Yeah. In zero divisor graph definition.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But here total graph we are using the same notation, that gamma T gamma R.
No, T gamma of R. Their notation is gamma of R. Here it is T gamma of R.
So if a gamma is there, and we are omitting the element 0 divisor.
No, you don't confuse this notation. Actually, since zero divisor graph is well known, people usually denote it graph from ring structure as gamma of R. Okay, so whatever the graph we are studying from ring structure, they used to call it as gamma of R. Okay, since here it is total graph, they just added T. That's it. So don't confuse this with zero divisor graph of notation. This is just a notation T gamma of R, for which the elements of the ring as vertices and the adjacency is X plus Y is an element of the zero divisor.
Yeah, right. So go to the next slide. We are here. The zero divisor elements are 0, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly.
So I'm done with the graph.
I have drawn this graph.
Yes. The degree of each vertex is 3.
Yeah.
So the vertices are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
And 0 is connected to 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I already answered.
Yes.
Please
1 is
see the
connected
screen. Yeah.
to 2, 3, and 5.
2, 3, 5. Exactly.
2, 3, 5. 2 is connected to 1, 0 and 4.
Exactly.
3 is
The graph
connected
is already given
by
in the
0
screen.
and 1.
Yeah.
Yes. So in this way it is done. So degree of each vertex is 3.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Actually, you may draw like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4. You are plotting the vertexes like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But for my convenience, I just write 0, 4, 2 one side and 1, 3, 5 in the other side. Just for clear representation. Okay, so I hope you are all, you already draw this graph, right? Okay, so now another question for what happened to Z9. One more example. Can you please try for Z9? Don't mind. You please try to plot the vertex correspondingly. Please don't draw just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you just plot the vertex like that and then you draw a graph and then you come up with that. Yeah, if anyone answer, please.
Just a triangle.
One triangle remaining. What happened to the remaining?
You are saying that ring is Z9, right?
Yes, yes.
So zero divisors of Z9 are only 0, 3 and 6.
Exactly. But the vertex set is every element of the ring.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Yes, yes.
Just I would like to have attention of Krishna Ghode. So from long time, I am requesting you to put on your camera on.
Yes, sir. Sorry,
So
sir.
you are requested to follow the instructions.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Sorry to disturb you.
No, no, you. Okay, so anyone can answer what is the resulting graph of total graph of Z9? That's too much, right? We just draw 0, 1, 2 up to 8. And Dr. Rupali already told that it is 0 is adjacent to 3, 3 is adjacent to 6, you get a K3, right? What happened to the rest of the part?
May I show the picture?
Yes, yes. It's not actually, yeah.
So the rest of the graph is K33 with vertex 147 and 258.
Okay. Okay. Can anyone say what happened to 1? 1 is adjacent to what are the elements? 1 is adjacent to?
2, 8, and 5.
Yeah. What happened to 4?
2, 8, 5.
Yeah. What happened to 7?
7 is also 2, 8, 5.
Yeah.
So
Ma'am,
this
you also check in the same way. Then what is this graph?
K33.
I do not
Exact.
know what is the name of this graph.
Yeah, K3, exact. Okay. So complete graph on 3 vertices on the both sides. So this is what the graph. Okay. So one side is K3. Ma'am, you are also right. Yeah, K3. This is what the graph. Okay, now I expecting your observation about this graph. Like in the previous section, we have some observation about the zero divisor graph introduced by Ivan Beck, right? Here, what are the observations?
Disconnected.
Yeah, this graph is disconnected, but what if this graph is not disconnected, right?
Yes.
So in general, this graph is not connected, right? For some cases it is connected, for some cases it is disconnected. Okay, what other observation? Please see the vertex, how I am plotting. From that you try to answer something. You please look up this graph and this graph.
Maybe a bipartite graph.
Yeah, 1 bipartite. But what I am saying is just you please note how I am representing the vertices.
There are 2 components
Yeah.
in this graph,
No,
and
this
one
graph,
component is exactly the zero divisors, and other component is the units.
Yeah, other
of that
components are
range.
units. Exactly. So this is what one observation. One component is zero divisor and also others are non-zero divisor elements. Any other further observation? You please note that this is zero divisor as already you mentioned. What happened to this? This is 1 plus zero divisors, right? This is 1 plus zero divisor.
Yeah.
What about this one? This is 2 plus zero divisor. Am I right?
Yeah.
So here quotient ring comes to play. Right? So 0 plus z of r, 1 plus z of r, 2 plus z of r. Similarly, you can look at this graph. 0, 2, 4 is an ideal here. You please check in terms of Z6. 0, 2, 4 is part of z of r, actually an ideal, annihilator of 2, right? So here that means this is an ideal, this is 1 plus ideal. So now you can merge these ideas with your title of this graph. Total graph, right? So here the structure is mostly with respect to the total quotient ring. Okay, so that's why they have given the name as total graph. Let me see in detail how this graph mostly reliable on the structure of the quotient ring or otherwise or by some ideal. Okay, so this is the graph for C15. It's huge to draw anyhow. But again, my representation, you just look up the representation. 0, 3, 6, 9 told in other one side. 1 plus this ideal is another side. 2 plus this ideal is another side, right? Okay, let me see some of these properties, how this graph is more reliable on the structure of the coset. Let us begin with this question, whether this graph is regular. In general, whether this graph is regular. You have 2 examples with you. Yeah. Yeah, please, can you repeat it, Professor Sonawal?
Not necessary, just previous example.
Yeah, for C6, you note that for C6, it is regular, right? Degree of every vertex is 3, therefore regular. But here it is not the case. In terms of 0, 3, 6, the degree is 2, and for the rest, the degree is 3, right? So in general, this graph is not regular. Can anyone guess the degree of this one? Can anyone? Very simple observation about the degree. You please just look up these 2 graphs, C6 and C9, and try to answer what is the degree of this graph.
Degree of
Can you please repeat it?
Number of zero divisors.
Yes.
Number of zero divisors -1, right? In terms of Z6.
Yes.
Yeah, in
minus-
terms of Z6, it is 3, but actually number of zero divisors are 4. 0, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
So it seems like number of zero divisors -1, right? But actually it is not the case. For C9, you just compare it with Z9.
In Z9, we have 2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3 means 3 is actually the number of element in the zero divisor.
Yes.
2 is number of zero divisor -1. Now, can
Yes.
anyone guess the answer? It's not too hard to answer.
If element is zero divisor, then its degree is number of zero divisors -1. Otherwise,
Okay, it's a guess, but it somehow it's matched, but it's not exactly.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Can anyone come up with an exact answer? Because this is not true in case of C6, right? Because C6,
degree
1 and 5 are not
is
zero
at
divisor
least-
elements. Yeah.
The degree is at least number of zero divisor -1.
Exactly. And the answer is right, but I need the exact answer. You just gave at least. Okay. You please note that x plus y is an element of the zero divisor, right? So I just take x plus y equal to y. Sorry, x plus y equal to z for some z in zero divisor. Then how many choices are there for my z? Exactly the number of element in the zero divisor, right? X is adjacent to y means x plus y will give you the element of the zero divisor. I just take it as z. So x plus y equal to z means x is adjacent to z minus y, right? X is adjacent to z minus y. Literally, I am talking about. So how many choices are there for my z? Exactly the number of element in the zero divisor. So it looks like the degree is z of or -1. So only one place we fail. What's the place? We are avoiding the loops, right? We are not considering loop. So when the loop will come, x plus y, x is an element of the zero divisor. I just want to avoid that. Suppose x plus y, x plus x is an element of zero divisor, which means 2x. You just roughly take it as 2x. If 2x is an element of the zero divisor, then what happens? I just need to avoid that element. So whenever I am avoiding the element, then I need to reduce the degree as exactly 1 less than the number of element in the zero divisor. Okay, so just I go through the proof. This is what the proof. You just look at the proof, and now you can understand. Okay, so the degree is exactly z of or -1. Whenever 2v is an element of the zero divisor, whenever 2v is not an element of the zero divisor, I will end up with z of 1. So just because of we are avoiding the loops, the degree is exactly 1 reduced. Okay. So can now anyone make this as a statement? Now the exercise is I already given you a proof. Can anyone make this as a statement of a theorem in total graph? A little algebra comes into play to write this as a statement. My question is, when 2v is an element of the zero divisor? If I am having an arbitrary v with me, when 2v is an element of the zero divisor, when 2v is not an element of the zero divisor?
square free.
Square phi. Square phi, like how we can consider square phi in terms of rings?
Order say 9, 4, 16.
Oh, okay. The order of the ring is should be a square order. Okay, that is not actually the case.
Characteristic to?
Characteristic to? No. Okay, I just modify my question a little bit. Suppose X is an element of the zero divisor. What happened to A into X for any A in the ring? X is an element of the zero divisor. What happened to A into X for any A in the ring?
It is also zero divisor.
Exactly. This is also a zero divisor, right? Okay. So now you answer. When 2V is an element of the zero divisor, always. V is arbitrary. What is fixed in my hand? 2, right? So whenever
If
2 is an element of
2
the
is
zero
a
divisor,
zero divisor.
yeah, this is what. So whenever 2 is an element of the zero divisor, 2V is always an element of the zero divisor. In that case, the graph is regular, right? If that is not the case, the graph is not regular. In that way, whenever V is an element of the zero divisor, that way 2V is an element of the zero divisor. So that there the degree is 1 exactly less, the remaining part exactly the number of elements in the zero divisor. Okay. So hope now you know how to write the statement of this. Actually, this is not proved by D.F. Anderson. The very next paper by Hamid Maimani and 3 other Iranians. This theorem is appeared in Rocky Mountain Journal of Math. Please read the statement. I hope you understand it. Okay, shall I move on to the next one? Okay, so whenever 2 is an element of this, the graph is always regular. And when 2 is not an element of this, the graph should not be regular. The degree is exactly 1. So we used to call it as a biregular. There are only two different degrees, biregular graph. Okay, so my next question is, when this graph is connected, or in general, whether this graph is connected?
No.
Not
No,
in general.
no, because it is for Z9, it is not connected. Therefore, in general, this graph is not connected. So please try what is the property will implied in C6 as a connected and C9 as not connected.
2
Can
is
anyone
a
guess?
zero divisor.
2 is a zero divisor. Okay, you do not guess as same as degree. It won't work. Try something
In case-
different.
It's just observation.
Yeah.
In case of Z9, the zero divisors form a group or a ring. And in case of Z6, it's not.
Yeah, it's not actually group or ring. You actually find out the answer, but can you exactly say what it is? It's not the word group or ring, something different.
Ideal.
Field?
Ideal, exactly, ideal. Yes, now you are all very much familiar of total graph and you know that how to answer it. Exactly. So your guess is right. Whenever Z of R is an ideal, the graph is disconnected, right? Right? Okay, this is what I'm going to prove now. In general, this graph is not connected. Then the question is when this graph is not connected or disconnected. As it is exactly guessed, the answer is depends upon when Z of R is ideal, when Z of R is not an ideal. Okay, so the question is purely depends upon the idealness properties of Z of R. Okay, let us discuss what happened to this Z of R in terms of ideal. You please note that what is the condition implies the zero divisor set will give you the ideal. What are the conditions or what is the condition? This is what my question. You know the definition of the ideal, which means there are 3 properties. I already told you. In short, it is 2 properties. For first one, closure and inverse with respect to the first operation. With respect to the second operation, closeness. Okay. So there are 3 conditions required in terms of ideal. Now I am asking in terms of Z of R, what are the conditions are already exist? You already told that whenever x is an element of the zero divisor, what happens to r into x for any r?
That is again a zero divisor.
Again a zero divisor, which means the second property is always guaranteed, right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So second properties of the ideal is always guaranteed in terms of z of r. I don't want to bother about that. In terms of first property, I need to have closure as well as additive inverse, right? Additive inverse is also already guaranteed, right? Why? Whenever x is a zero divisor, minus x is also be zero divisor. That is trivial. So what happens? I need to have three conditions to say a subset is ideal. But when z of r comes into play, I always two properties are always guaranteed. Or two conditions is always guaranteed. So what happened to the rest of the only one condition left out? The closureness
Closure.
of the additive property. Yes, closureness of additive property. So I can write in this way: z of r is ideal if and only if x plus y is an element of z of r for all x comma y belongs to z of r. Okay. So my ideal condition of z of r purely depends upon the closureness properties of the first operation. Right. Okay. So keep this in mind. Now you can able to answer why this graph is disconnected in terms of z of r is ideal. I already told you that you just divide this graph into two subgraphs. One side is z of r. We used to call it as z gamma of r, notation wise z gamma of r. Regular other side is regular gamma of r. Now what happened to this z gamma of r? The subgraph induced by only the elements of the zero divisor. What happened? Since it is ideal.
As
Okay.
it is ideal, all elements are connected to each other.
Exactly, which means it is called in terms of graph theory
Connected component.
complete graph.
Complete graph. Yes.
Okay, there is an edge between any two elements.
Right.
Yeah, so we used to call it as a complete graph. Therefore, in terms of
Complete graph.
ideal, yeah, in terms of z of r is ideal, the subgraph induced by z of r is always complete. Then you can come up with the answer why this is disconnected. There is
We
no-
are looking at simple. So as it is,
No, it's not by simple. It is complete. I already told you that what is the maximum degree.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is
you just
Number of
compare
zero
with the
divisors.
number of zero
yeah,
divisors.
that's minus one in
Z
terms
of
of
R.
the element is element of the z of r. In both the cases, you please go back to the theorem. You can see if v is an element of if 2 is an element, always this is the degree. If 2 is not an element, whenever v is an element of zero divisor, what happens? Degree of v is z of r minus 1. Your subgraph induced by z of r is already complete, right? Then how many edges it have? Every vertex have exactly z of r minus 1 vertex.
Z
Right?
of
If
Z
it is
minus-
complete graph on n vertex, the degree is n minus. So already your entire adjacency is over only by looking at the subgraph of z gamma of r. Surely we have an element from regular of r. There is no edge between this regular of r and this of r, right? Because sure, if z of r, any element of z of r is adjacent to some element of the regular of r, then the degree should be at least cardinality of z of r. That is not the case. So by looking these two results, you can able to answer this. But I already told you that this result is proved in the second or third paper, but this is the result proved in the first paper by D.F. Anderson, the connectiveness. So he just used a different proof. I will give the proof almost same. So the subgraph induced by z gamma of r is always complete. Then what happens? I need to say that there is no edge between z gamma of r and regular gamma of r. But by looking at the previous theorem, I have given a proof of it. But instead of that, what they consider is, suppose there is an edge between an element x in z of r and an element r in regular of r, then x plus r is always an element of the zero divisor. I just take it as small z. Then what happens? I just add an x and subtracting an x. Okay, in the right hand side. So I just add an x and I just subtracting s. Now I have a cancellation law. I just cancel x. Therefore, I will end up with r equal to z minus x. What happens? Z is an element of the zero divisor. X is also be an element of the zero divisor. Therefore, z minus x is always an element of the zero divisor, right? Because I am in the ideal property. I already told you that ideal is more just depends upon the closureness of the additive. So Z minus X is an element of the zero divisor, right hand side. Left hand side R. What is R? R is an element of the regular offer. So one regular element cannot be equal to an element of the zero divisor. Therefore, this is what the contradiction. So this is what their first observation about the connectedness. Let R be a commutative ring. Z of R is an ideal of R. Then the Z gamma of R is complete, and there is no edge between Z gamma of R and regular gamma of R, which means this is disconnected. Okay. 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 So before moving on to the connectedness of the rest of the properties, like Z of R is not an ideal of R, I would like to give you a much stronger result about this case, the case when Z of R is an ideal. We have a structure theorem for this. The structure theorem is give you in this way: whenever R is a commutative ring, such that Z of R is an ideal of R, I need to notate the cardinality of these two. Therefore, I just mentioned Z of R is lambda and the quotient ring R by Z of R as mu. Then my total graph is nothing but exactly mu copies of K lambda. K lambda means complete graph on lambda vertices. Whenever 2 is an element of Z of R, whenever 2 is not an element of Z of R, one complete graph, rest of them are complete bipartite graph. Okay, exactly mu minus 1 by 2 copies are existing.
Here, union is the disjoint copy.
What?
Union. Here, union is a disjoint copies of.
Yes, exactly.
Union means
disjoint.
disjoint copy.
Exactly. There is a different notation for that union, but since I am taking from the base paper, I just use this notation itself. Okay, disjoint union. The graph is disjoint union. Okay, so you just note that I always used to have a K lambda in the left hand side. What is this K lambda? We just come up with that, right? The subgraph induced by the element of Z of R is always complete whenever ideal, Z of R is ideal. Therefore, this completeness is always guaranteed, right? From our previous case, I always have a complete graph. There is no edge between this complete graph and the rest of the graph. Therefore, this K lambda is always guaranteed from my previous thing. So now I need to look up the rest of the cases. Rest of the cases means the elements which are not zero divisor. So, okay. So can anyone answer this now? What happened to the elements, regular elements, whenever 2 is an element of Z of R? We always have a just disjoint union of complete graph. Just by looking the quotient ring. Okay, just consider the quotient ring R by Z of R. For sake of completeness, we may notate it as what is the first element, Z of R, then 1 plus Z of R, or maybe A1 plus Z of R plus A2 plus Z of R, up to you may have some AK plus Z of R. Okay, so just consider this quotient ring, then you can answer. What happened to that quotient element whenever 2 is an element of the zero divisor? Okay, it may be too much to ask. Let me see some of the proof. I am considering Z of R always containing 2. Okay, so I'm just taking an element from regular of R. Just I'm going to consider this quotient R plus Z of R. What I'm saying this R plus Z of R is always a complete subgraph of regular of R. Why? Can anyone say the answer of this one? Now it is not much hard to answer. R plus Z of R is always complete. Just take 2 elements from that quotient. I may take R plus Z1, R plus Z2, right? There are 2 elements. Just adding these two, what it will give?
Using the fact that ZR is an ideal.
Yes. Therefore?
And so therefore the addition will always be in Z of R, because you are assuming that 2 is in Z of R.
Exactly. So with these two conditions, one is ideal, another one is 2 is in Z of R, then what happens? R plus Z1 plus R plus Z2, if I am considering 2 elements, the rest of the resulting answer is 2R plus Z1 plus Z2, right? Since I am having 2 with me in the Z of R, 2R is always an element of the Z of R. Again, Z1 and Z2 again an element of Z of R. Therefore, this The sum is an element of Z of R. Therefore, there must be an adjacent between any two elements in the same coset, right? Now the answer, again, by looking the degree result, I can say that there is no edge between one coset to another coset, the same result. Therefore, I will end up with union of complete graph. Okay. So, but again, I already told you this result is proved by D.F. Anderson without weaving the degree concept. Again, choosing a contradiction proof method that R plus Z1 and R plus Z2. There are two elements from the two different cosets. Then what happens? R and S are two elements from the regular of R. Okay. So suppose there is an edge, then R plus S. Again adding and subtracting with Z of Z1 plus Z2. Then what happened to this R plus S? This is an element of Z of R. This is an element of Z of R. Again, this is an element of Z of R. Therefore, R plus S is an element of Z of R. Therefore, what happened to R minus S? Just in terms of R plus S, I am just applying, adding and subtracting a S. Therefore, I will end up with this is R minus S is an element of Z of R. As we know that A minus B belongs to H means A plus H equal to B plus H, right? So therefore, R plus Z of R equal to S plus Z of R. Therefore, exactly mu minus 1 copies of complete graph. This proof is not necessary now because of by applying the degree concept, you can say that there is no edge between one coset to another coset. Every coset gives you a complete graph. Therefore, the resulting graph is union of complete graph. Okay. Okay. So what happened to the remaining case? Now you are clear. Use this same proof technique for two does not belong to. You please consider again a two elements from the same coset. You again please consider two elements from the same coset. Suppose R plus Z of R is my coset. Then take two elements R plus Z of Z1 plus R plus Z2. What happened here? The same answer. Same answer, right? 2R plus Z1 plus Z2. Then what happened here? Since Z1 plus Z2 are the element of the zero divisor, I'm just take this Z of R element as Z. Then what happens? I'm just Z minus Z1 plus Z2. All of them will give you the element of the Z of R. Since it is ideal, what will get 2R is an element of zero divisor, right? Since 2 is not an element of Z of R, the only possible is R is an element of zero divisor. Okay? So this statement is also clear. Whenever XY is an element of the zero divisor, either X is an element of the zero divisor or Y should be an element of the zero divisor. Okay, it is a prime ideal Z of R. So therefore, 2 is the only possible that 2 belongs to Z of R, but that is not the case. It is a contradiction. Therefore, there is no edge. Suppose there is an edge between two elements in the same coset, then I will end up with the contradiction. Therefore, there is no edge between any two elements in the same coset, right? Now I need to look up where the edge is belonging to. So can anyone guess now? The element of R plus Z of R is adjacent to a simple guess. I will need to end up with the Z of R element, right? My coset is R plus Z of R. I should need to have the element of Z of R. Then R plus Z of R is adjacent to?
Take one element from Z of R, say Z. So R plus R minus Z, they will be connected.
R plus?
R minus Z.
R minus Z, okay. So you cannot go
or R plus Z minus R, sorry.
Exactly, Z minus R, which means minus R plus Z, right? So every element of R plus Z of R is going to adjacent with minus R plus Z of R, right? So you will come up with that answer again. Okay, so this is what. So every element in R plus Z of R is going to adjacent with exactly the elements of minus R plus Z of R. Okay, because the sum will always give you the element of Z of R. Therefore, this is always complete bipartite graph Again, by using the degree example, you cannot have more than this much of element from the outside. Therefore, one graph is complete. The rest of them are union of complete bipartite. In case of 2 does not belong to the upper. There are 2 cases, right? Whenever 2 is an element, it is nothing but union of complete graph. Whenever 2 is not an element, it is nothing but one complete graph with union of complete bipartite graph. That's it. So the answer is, I just like to go back for the answer. So this is what the answer is. Okay. Okay, so my study hereafter is does not depend upon. I think it's already time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I will conclude by this. Maybe day after tomorrow we can continue from this slide. So up to the idealness of Z of R, I conclude this with the structural theorem, which means I don't want to bother about the much about the idealness. No. In case of ideal, I have a structural theorem, which means I don't want to bother about this one. I need to consider the rest of the cases, right? Because I have a clear graph, union of complete graph or one complete graph with a complete bipartite graph. Every properties of graph theory is very trivial on this one. Therefore, hereafter I don't want much concentrate about the case when Z of R is an ideal. I'm going to consider only when Z of R is not an ideal. Okay. Okay. So any question?
Can I ask one question?
Any? Sure.
Yes. It's just just because of curiosity, why it is called as a total graph of a ring?
I already informed you, right? Can anyone answer instead of me? During my lecture,
Total quotient ring. Yes.
Exactly. The properties is depending upon the quotient total ring, right? Quotient ring. We used to call it at a total ring sometimes. Therefore, the graph is called as total graph. The structure demanding the quotient nature. Yeah. Any other question? Any other question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a nice lecture.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
the patient
Thank you,
listening.
sir.
Yeah.
I think
It
someone
was
will
really a
definitely
wonderful
pick up. So no, sir, just 1 minute. I want to just say a few things. Definitely someone will pick up the idea from the either zero divisor graph or total graph, because a lot of things are clear to the participants particularly. It was a nice lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So for that reason, I just go back with very basic concepts.
Yes, sir. Sonal, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, it was really an interactive session, and you gave much more time to think us and really ignited our minds for research. So it was really a nice presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.